Breaking news. Putin's troops in Russia's Kursk forced back miles by Kyiv's cross-border incursion. Intense fighting between Ukrainian and Russian soldiers within the Russian border territory of Kursk has entered its third day, after an ambitious advance by Kyiv's military. The Institute for the Study of War (ISW) said that Ukrainian forces had crossed the border more than 6 miles, 10 kilometers, breaking through 2 Russian defense lines and a fortress. Despite claims that the situation was under control, Russia proclaimed a state of emergency during the violent fighting. Russian official media said that 3,000 people had been evacuated from the region. Moscow's military leader, Valery Gerasimov, informed President Vladimir Putin on Wednesday about the strike, but neither Kyiv nor President Volodymyr Zelensky have made any clear mention to it, instead encouraging Kyiv's troops to continue forward and degrade Russian positions. According to many pro-Russian military blogs, the fighting resumed on Thursday. "We've practically lost Sudza, a district in Kursk. And this is a vital supply center," said Yuri Podolyaka, a well-known Ukrainian-born pro-Russian military blogger, who added that Ukrainian soldiers were advancing north into Lvov. Ukraine is not breaching policy by employing U.S.-supplied weaponry in Kursk. The U.S. State Department has said that Ukraine is not violating policy by deploying U.S.-supplied munitions in Kursk, despite the fact that the operation is taking place on Russian territory. Matthew Miller, the State Department spokesman, said during a briefing that the U.S. had not received any warnings regarding planned operations on Russian territory and emphasized that Ukraine is making these choices on its own. However, he said that the U.S. position on arms limits and deploying American weapons to attack within Russian territory remained unaltered. In response to a reporter's query, he responded, "I'll respond like this. Nothing in our policy has changed, and the measures the Ukrainians are doing today do not violate our policy." In May, President Joe Biden authorized Ukraine to use American weapons to attack inside Russia with the sole aim of protecting Kyiv, Ukraine's second-largest city. Mr. Miller's words may seem odd, given that Mr. Biden's directive in May did not affect policy, which directed Ukraine not to deploy American-provided long-range missiles and other ordnance to attack militarily within Russia. Russian bombardment kills 2 in the Donetsk area. Russian shelling killed 2 civilians today in the village of Kostyantynivka, in the eastern Ukrainian district of Donetsk. The strike occurred in the town's residential section in the morning, according to Vadim Filishkin, the chairman of the Donetsk Regional Military Administration, who reported on his Telegram account. On Wednesday, Russia shelled the same location, killing at least 4 civilians. Russian shelling and airstrikes are routinely directed against Ukrainian-controlled regions in the Donetsk region. A large portion of the area is under Russian control, with Moscow claiming it, along with 4 other Ukrainian regions, as its own. Donetsk remains a significant flashpoint, with Russian soldiers concentrating on objectives near the strategically crucial eastern supply center of Pokrovsk. While Moscow has crushed independent Russian-language media, YouTube has remained a stronghold of online freedom of speech, providing a forum for opposition leaders to voice their views. YouTube in Russia is now on borrowed time. Russian internet monitoring firms reported widespread disruptions on Thursday of the online video service, which is owned by Alphabet's Google, marking the latest slowdown in recent weeks. Russian legislators have blamed the mid-July slowness on Google's inability to modernize its equipment in Russia since the 2022 invasion of Ukraine. The corporation and technical experts argue that this is not the case. Roskomnadzor, Russia's official communications regulator, did not immediately respond to a request for comment. With independent Russian-language media restricted, YouTube is an important source of opposing viewpoints. One video by late opposition leader Alexei Navalny, claiming that President Vladimir Putin is the ultimate owner of an extravagant mansion, which Putin disputes, has had over 132 million views. According to Mediascope, blocking YouTube, which is used by more than 50 million Russians every day, could have negative consequences for online freedom of speech, threaten Russia's overall internet connectivity, and the livelihoods of thousands of content creators, for experts, researchers, and bloggers told Reuters. Russia's Medvedev called on Moscow to broaden its military goals in Ukraine. Former Russian President Dmitry Medvedev has urged Moscow's soldiers to go deeper into Ukraine, emphasizing that they must reach Odessa, Kharkiv, Kyiv, and beyond. Despite Russia's soldiers being forced hundreds of kilometers back from advances made in the early days of their full-scale invasion, and with the last year of the war dominated by hard combat for modest gains, the deputy chairman of Russia's council believed Russia should broaden its objectives. Commenting on the Ukrainian invasion in the Kursk area, Mr. Medvedev said that Moscow's action should no longer be limited to securing the territory it deems its own, and that Russia would only cease expanding when it is advantageous to do so. Ukraine claims a Russian bomb killed 2 people at a playground in Sumy area. A Ukrainian official claimed a young man and his 6-year-old brother were killed when a Russian-guided bomb struck a playground on Thursday, as Moscow soldiers increased air raids on the northern Sumy area, which borders Russia's Kursk province. Volodymyr Artyuk, chief of the Sumy region's military administration, informed national television that the couple were slain in Maritsia hamlet. He said the region had seen an unprecedented amount of air attacks. Sumy region has never known such a large number per day, he continued, referring to Russia's 56 guided bombs dropped in the last 24 hours. Top Russian commander acknowledges shortage of personnel. A senior Russian general admitted in a rare statement that the Kremlin's military are running out of forces and resources. Top Russian General Apty Alodinov, leader of the Akhmet Special Forces unit operating in Russia, stated that there were casualties in Ukraine's Kursk invasion. Mr. Alodinov said that the invasion was made feasible because Moscow had neither forces, nor means, nor resources to halt them. He said on the Telegram chat app, "There is no irreversible process, nothing extraordinary occurred. Yes, the boys perished, that is correct." He reported that the attackers had reached many populous areas. Ukraine will deploy robot dogs on the front lines. Ukraine might replace troops with robot dogs on the front lines for dangerous jobs like spying on Russian fortifications or detecting explosives. The hounds are not just utilized for dangerous missions. They can also transport slightly over a stone of ammunition or medication to hot locations on the battlefield. At a demonstration in an unnamed section of Ukraine, the mechanical dog known as Model Bad 1 sprang up, crouched, raced, and leaped in response to directions from its operator, according to Agence France-Presse. We have surveillance soldiers who get sent on reconnaissance missions, who are most of the time very highly trained people, very experienced people, and always exposed to risks, said the operator, who went by the name Yuri as he showed to AFP journalists. Zelensky says Ukrainian army knows how to surprise. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has complimented the Ukrainian army's capacity to surprise and deliver results. While he did not directly mention the cross-border attack in Russia's Kursk area, this is most likely what he was referring to. At a ceremony to launch a new digital tool to reduce military paperwork, he said, "Everyone can see that the Ukrainian army knows how to surprise and knows how to get results. This is demonstrated by the battlefield, where our soldiers not only withstood the overwhelming force of the occupiers, but also are destroying it in the way necessary to protect Ukraine, our state and independence." Ukraine nearly misses gold in canoe sprint. In an addendum to our previous piece, Ukraine just lost out on a medal in the canoe sprint final at the Paris Olympics. Despite not winning, they outperformed those who came before of them in the semi-finals, Canada and Denmark. Germany finished 0.04 seconds ahead of Australia. Spain won the bronze medal, while Ukraine finished fourth, only a second behind. The Ukrainian team comprises of Ola Kukarik, Dmytro Danilenko, Ihor Trunov, and Ivan Semikin.